Hello, colleagues. Welcome to Salesforce United Tech Talk, Success as DevOps, Upskill Your Career. Today, we're going to discuss with you how to deploy in Salesforce environment, and we will highlight the peculiarities of deployment in Salesforce. At the end of the call, we will respond to all of your questions, so do not hesitate to add them to the right side of your panel into Q&A section. And also, I would like to remind you that the talk will be recorded and you will also have an opportunity to watch it even afterwards. I'm passing my words to the speaker, Rishabh. You're welcome.
Hi everyone, my name is Rishabh, and let me just quickly share my screen. Hi, my name is Rishabh, and I have been working in Salesforce ecosystem for last uh, around 5 years now, and I work as a system engineer slash DevOps engineer slash release manager in EPAM systems. And today's topic we will be covering about how to do Delta deployments, especially Delta deployments in CI/CD pipelines, which we use in Salesforce. So it will be a more kind of a specific topic regarding how to deploy using some plugins using in our CI/CD pipelines, because I know a lot of people still don't know how to take advantage of Delta deployments. So, as I said about myself, I have been working as a system engineer in EPAM with 5+ years of experience. So, without wasting any time, let's go to the agenda. So, we will be covering few things like how to actually deploy in Salesforce, what is actually Delta deployment, and what's the difference between Delta and full deployment, and why do we actually need Delta deployment in first place, and what are the benefits of this Delta deployment, and how should we actually implement it in our pipeline. Right. Okay, so first of all, what is deployment? Of how do we deploy in Salesforce? What when we talk about deploying, what is actually deploying? So deploying is nothing. Is just migrating our components or our changes from one org to another org. So let's just say from whatever we did, we are transferring those changes from our dev environment to our production or QA or UAT, etc., etc. So it's just a term we use, deploy, and that's how we do it. So there are other different ways where we can deploy our changes in Salesforce. There are a number of ways. First is change set, which is very primal, and we don't actually use it nowadays. And I don't recommend anyone using this as well. And is also one of the very old tools where we actually used to take advantage of this. We have a few native tools as well, which actually help us to do Delta deployment as well, and full deployment depending upon our need. They are native sense because we don't actually need any CLI or any custom scripts to run them. They're a bit on an expensive side because they are paid versions. And when we talk about CLI and how to actually deploy them, Salesforce has its own CLI, which we will leveraging here in the pipelines, and it actually enable us to deploy uh, very fast through our local or integrating the CLI commands in our CI/CD pipelines. And one new thing, not new, it's comparatively new to the other tools, is a DevOps Center. Salesforce is basically having its own DevOps Center, DevOps tool, which is called DevOps Center. It's going to do the same exact thing which other native tools are doing. It's in initial stage. We can do Delta deployments from there as well, but since it is in very initial states, it's we still haven't got, at least I don't have the much confidence how the tool's gonna work in highly fast paced and enterprise projects. Okay, so now we know how to deploy in Salesforce. Let's move on to the main topic. What is Delta deployment and what is full deployment? How they both are different from each other. So Delta deployment is nothing. When we talk about Delta deployments, the Delta means like that the diff. So delta deployment is basically the changes we have worked on are going to deploy. Let's just say that I worked on a class or two. So those two classes will be deployed instead of whole branch. We're gonna dump into the org. It is as I can say, as you know that if the code base is comparatively old, let's just say 3 or 4 years old, the project is keep running is still running. You know that how many components are there. uh, at least there will be around 2000 3000. So instead of deploying all those 2000 3000 components every time in the org, I'm saying that because I'd done it when I started my journey, and it was very painful. So at that point of time, this plugin was not there. So this plugin lets us deploy the diff between the commits. So we worked on two classes. It will deploy only two classes instead of the whole code base. Uh, another way is also we can just use some scripts and create a diff of the branches and do it. It is also a way, but it again, like I said, that it's we can do the whole work in one line. Why do we need to create a whole uh, to like 200 or 150 lines of script? So full deployment is nothing. Like I said, it's taking the whole branch or whole package and deploying it to the uh, target org without cherry picking what the changes we did. Now the question is, why do we actually need delta deployment when the work is being done with the full deployment? As I said, it's faster than the full deployment. When we are deploying 2 or 3 thousand components, and we are deploying as compared to 3 or 4 components, obviously it's going to be faster than the full one. No overriding of data metadata. So this has happened a lot of time, and it keeps on happening. Let's just say that you're using some kind of metadata. Let's just say. Uh, Remote site settings, custom URLs on these things will keep on getting overriding. We have to again do the post deployment steps in order to sync the org with the current URLs or current custom settings. So in Delta deployment, if even if we didn't touch any URLs or anything, why are we going to deploy it? So the overriding will be very minimized. So no overriding at all if we are not working on the exact URL. No repetitive deployment steps like in full deployments. Like I said, that we don't have to again and again. So let's just say that your branch has some experience bundle. You deployed that as well along with the classes which you wanted to deploy. Now you have to again go back to the community, publish it. So that those unnecessary deployment steps will be removed. So these are the main things which we actually take advantage of delta deployment. Another thing is I will be covering that is destructive changes. We can automate destructive changes as well. It is totally upon you if how advanced your script is, how you can detect the changes and how you can deploy it. I'll give you a small example in later demo how we can automate delta deployments with destructive changes as well. So now the question comes: how can we do the delta deployments? We know how what it does, why is it useful, but how can we do it? So there is a SDD plugin. It is not official one, but it is. You can go and see in the main Salesforce or in Salesforce documentation. They have suggested it, but they have already said that it's not official. So you have to take some uh, like cautious step if in case it fails. In my case it never failed, but you have to make your script and pipeline really robust in case if something happens. So it's basically a kind of a wrapper plugin around the CLI plugin, which we actually use with Salesforce. It does incremental deployments, and like I said, the delta destructive deployments as well as per our need. And there are a few more things which we will be covering in the later slides. What all those things we can do with this plugin. So why do we actually need this plugin when we actually have Copado, we have Salesforce DevOps? Why do we need this plugin? Why do we even have to go to the custom uh, configuration and what all? First of all, it's open source. It's completely free. Anyone can use it, easy to implement. It does seem like, oh, we are gonna work with custom pipelines. It will be really hard to implement, but trust me, it is very easy. Someone who knows CLI, they will know how easy it is. Easy to configure in case we do have some different needs with the kind of making the Delta package. We'll cover that in later, how we can configure it. So it is very easy to configure as per our needs or some other some other project needs. Very fast as compared to native tools. So someone who has actually used Copado, if they're gonna deploy one user story, it will take a lot of time. It is good for people who don't know actually how to use VS Code, CLI. That is good for them, but it is comparatively slow than the actual CLI which we use. So it's very fast. It has even static code analysis in build. It's a topic for another time, but just wanted to put it in the place that just by changing the image name, we can use the static code analysis as well in the same one, and we can actually have the whole code coverage when the deployment finishes and what tests are failing or not. So we can have all those things without even running the code coverage report separately, test coverage report separately in one command. Okay, so now the main part is how to implement it. So I'm assuming that you already have a pipeline because this is some kind of add-on to your pipeline. We will cover how I actually made pipeline, but I will not cover in details because it's a whole different topic. So I'm assuming that you have your own pipeline. It is doing the full deployments. So in order to make it advanced, you just have to you go to the documentation. I have put the icon here, QR code here. You can scan it and go to the full documentation, but put it in more crux. So you just have to take the you have to make your own, or you can use their Docker image. Put that image in your pipeline. This is the main command which we're gonna cover. So this command is sgd source delta. So this command actually makes the delta for you, and then we can actually deploy normally how we do it. These are few of the variables which you can go through the documentation separately. I'll cover the main variables which are very useful, which are like which are not optional. We have to use them. So I'll cover those in next slide. So when we actually talk about the SDT delta one. So there are two variables which we actually have to take care of is to and from, and output is fine. So to and from is the main variables. We can actually configure it how and where we can actually make the delta package. It actually creates a whole set like a stack of SHA. SHA is basically the hashed keys of the commits. So now it totally depends on you on which kind of diff you want. Either you can take a diff from specified SHA keys, either you can take a diff of whole branch, either you can take a diff of branch but not the count like as you can say compared to the developer branch. It's a common instead of main, ignoring the changes in the main branch. So it is completely on you how you have to take it. I have taken the second one because I want to take the whole commit diff and deploy it to the next branch. I'll show it in the example I have in the coming slides. Just wanted to show you what kind of configuration we do with these pipelines. Uh, Now, coming to the kind of more deep topic is that when we actually deploy using SDD Delta, it actually makes a uh, dynamic like a package.xml, and that package.xml is used to retrieve that change and deploy it. But now, in case if someone doesn't want that package.xml, they do want an actual zip file. What we can do is actually just put this tag generate delta. It will actually create the package folder and destructive package folder, either of whichever you did. Either you destruct the changes or you did some changes, incremental ones. So it will put those changes accordingly to the respective um, zip files, and we can use source deploy to and put a package icon and deploy it. And another thing is when we actually talk about, so a lot of people do actually run local tests, and some of them us also run specific tests. Now the problem will occur that if we are actually working on delta deployment, how are we going to know which test class has been touched? and how can we put them into a dynamically put them in a run specific text file or whichever file you're passing to, and it should run only those tests. So they do actually have a uh, like a expression as well, that which you can configure according to you, and it will create a text file which you can pass it on to your command, and it will run only those test classes which have been touched in our delta deployment or delta package. And now, this coming to the another main thing is that when we actually need to put destructive changes dynamically uh, in our like the command, I'll show you it in my command. I have put them in main line, so it will do destructive and incremental changes in one go. But the problem might arise that if you want to do destructive changes pre-deployment, so let's just say that you want to delete a field and then update that field, like etc., etc., whatever you want to do. That case will be for failed, because then we are actually that changes which are going to deploy as a destructive changes, they're going to deploy post deployment. So we have to be careful with the pre and post destructive changes stack. So if in order to actually remove that dependency at all, we can have two jobs with deploying of package.xml and deploying of destructive changes. So totally up to you how you want to configure your pipeline. Do you want to make it in one go? Do you want to have two like stages? Depending upon, you can put different kind of check as well. If there is a change in destructive changes, only then run this pipeline. So stuff like that. There are many ways we can go it. So I'll give you. So this is the example which I'm gonna use in my pipeline. Just to give you a overview, the pipeline is gonna work when we create a merge request. It will actually validate, and we push the merge request. It's gonna deploy the changes. So if you can see here, here's the SDT delta. So I was telling you that uh, GitLab is a bit of it's a bit different. I'm gonna use GitLab. It doesn't take, if you put branch name here and here, it won't actually create the difference. It doesn't work with their um, CI/CD pipeline syntax. So what I have done is it's going to take the head, and it's going to take the diff of the two branches SHA. So whichever the SHA is going to like, so it's going to take the diff of head SHA and the diff of these two SHAs. And it's going to create a package.xml and destructive package.xml, and we're going to deploy package.xml. And remember when I said that post destructive changes, it's going to deploy the destructive changes post when the deployment is main deployment is done. And I'm running the whole all test runs. So for my own use, you can run the other ones as well. I don't use the run specific ones. I use the whole test level. Okay, just for your clarification, if you don't want to use the Docker image, you can always put this command in your pipeline. It will again and again install it. I would not recommend it. I would recommend to use a Docker image because it's much more faster. But if you don't know how to do it, or you don't want to do it, you can just put this command as well, and you can use it in your local as well. Okay, so now is the exciting part, how you're gonna do it in real life. I'm gonna show you how we're gonna do a deployment and a destructive deployment in one go. So I have my repo ready. Uh, for this purpose, I'm gonna delete um, this Apex class, and I'm gonna create a new Apex class. To be clear, if we have, okay, so it's gonna show. So like I was saying, it's gonna validate and deploy. I didn't put the static code analysis for the sake of the length of the demo. So I'll show you in the later in the slide. So let me just check if we're gonna see it in the, okay, in the deployment as well. We're gonna see what kind of changes we are deploying. Great. It's getting, let it push, and then we're gonna create a pull request. Great. Okay. Test pipeline feature, and I'm gonna create a pull request to QA. And as you can see that I made 3 changes. Uh, I deleted a file. I created a file, and this is XML. Okay, so it's a meta XML for this one. Just a minute. I need to put this as well. So you can see what changes we're gonna see in the deployment. Okay. Test 9 QA. So right now I'm just creating a pull request and to see what changes are there. So yeah, so the second changes also came where I actually included to show destructive XML. I'm gonna create a pull request, and upon creating the pull request, it's gonna create a job to validate against QA. And this is my QA. I'm gonna open this one. So it's running. And also one more thing you can do is you can put. I'm actually using my own runner, so you can put uh, custom runners as well. So I'm using a default runner, so it's going to take a bit of time, not that much, but it's totally upon you which kind of runner you can take. Right, the validation has started. I want to show it in here how it's gonna look like. Give it a moment. By the way, it's totally up on you whether you like whether you want to run the whole test or not. I would recommend you should run all tests. Specific tests is basically faster, but they do give some kind of errors and other implications. Okay, great. So if you can see, so this is the package.xml. I created a Rishabh test here and I committed it, and the the test class which I deleted was this one, and you can see it has shown all both the changes. And once it is done validating, I'm gonna deploy it, and you're gonna see that it's gonna deleted that thing as well. Just a moment. By the way, there are few things which you actually have to take care of when you're using the this command line. Uh, to it always takes a diff or always takes a change. So in case, for example, it has happened a lot with me as well, that for example you merged it, and so I'm gonna show it to you. If I'll merge it, and for some reason the deployment got failed, that is somewhere you actually have to uh, do a mitigation plan that now the changes have been merged and it again cannot actually trigger the pipeline. So you have to again pick up those changes or and do some kind of change there, maybe add a I guess a space or something so that the pipeline, so the SGD package can pick up those changes again. So that is kind of a drawback of this one, because it's not a drawback, it depends on how you actually gonna use this one. So if you know, I put two stages of kind of uh, validation. I'm pretty sure that if it got validated, then only I will do the merge. But it happens a lot of time. But in that case, you actually have to again pick up those changes, do some changes like put some uh, change some tag or change some put some space so that SGD package can pick that up, and you will be again good for the deployment. So it's going to take just 2 or 3 minutes more, and then we will be able to see that it actually deployed that change as well, and it deleted that change as well. Okay, and also, like I was saying, that STD delta actually comes in different ways. So the image I have actually provided you is kind of a main image for that. You can put different uh, plugins and add-ons as well. I won't cover that in this one. You can go through the documentation. There are a lot of things you can do within this plugin. You can actually run whole schedule jobs and everything with this one. The main class I'm actually talking about. Okay, so deployment is done. I'm gonna go to audit trail to see what actually it did. See, it actually deleted the class and deployed a class as well. And the time is, yeah, it's in UK time, so it's like 1 hour earlier. So the time is fine. We actually deleted a class and we created a class as well. So that's how the deployment is going to work. And the one thing I was about to show you is that it will show me the code coverage as well. I haven't enabled, and it will show me all the test runs as well. So all the tests are also passing. You can see here, and it will show me code coverage as well, which class is lacking where and what kind of on which line we actually have to make the change. So it's pretty useful if you actually know how to use this one. And that is it, and that's how we actually do it. I just wanted to show you one more thing. I won't cover it. If you actually configure it correctly, it will actually show you kind of a very good UI as well. What static analysis are failing, what are the changes. It's a topic for different day, but you can also explore this as well with this plugin. And that is it. And uh, we can go with the Q&A questions and doubts.
Okay. Thank you, Rishabh, for covering the topic and looking at the deployment from different angles. Yes, guys. So we are now switching to Q&A session. Uh, Please add your questions to the Q&A section on the right side. And for now, we don't have questions yet, but we have likes. This is a good sign. Um, so while you are given some time to think about the questions, I would like to encourage you to rate the Tech Talk. We will share the link with you to rate it. And also, please join our channels to stay tuned with us. Or also, if you will have any questions left after the Tech Talk, you may also add them. Send us a mail and we will respond to them. The links will be added soon. Or also, if you want to participate as a speaker, you can also pin us and we will connect with you. So I see no questions yet. Okay.
I'm not sure if it's a good sign that I made them understand good or they don't understand at all.
um, anyway, so no questions. Guys, as I said before, do not hesitate to send us your questions as a follow up. Yes, to the mail or directly to Rishabh, right? Feel free to connect us. And yep, let's stay together. And please follow us for the new Tech Talks. Thank you so much.